early on, just because of the restricted vocabulary. But they don't do it as much, and I don't think there's ever a place in this book where they flat out don't tell you what the word is. And I feel like in life they were doing that. They were giving you things, and that you just had to look them up. The reason I ask is because so far, Luke, you're the only one who's doing Latin with me next year, which is awesome. But I am actually going to be taking a class. I'd like my Latin to be better than it is. And so I've placed in the intermediate level online, but they use a different book. It's a different method, and it's one I haven't used. And I've been reading through the book, and I'm just considering switching it up a little bit and doing that with you next year. And it's a completely different approach, and it's a lot more Latin reading, but it's very, very simple. And it's anyway, it's a book that tells a continuous story through the whole book, and you get to read. So you read a lot of Latin because it's just a lot of volume, but weirdly they throw things in, and you kind of figure out what it means by the context. But then you use it and use it. Anyway, we'll see. My class starts the week of May 7th, and I'm going to take a 14-week session with this book, and then I'm going to tell your mom, don't buy the book yet, because I might want to do something different with Luke. Anyway, let's. Did you do all these sentences? Okay. I brought 3 because chapter 3 is only second declension. Asio, amo, or misases. And a lot of the words you already know. So I brought that, but we might not. We have 3 more meetings. We might go up through chapter 4, and then we might not go much beyond that. But let's do, since we have a key, let's actually translate the sentences that I gave you. Sentence 1, Salve, o patria. Salve isn't holy. Sanctus is holy, and you haven't learned that in this book yet. Salve, what does salve mean? Hello. Hello, fatherlands. Remember? Salve. All right. Fama et sententia volant. Yeah, sentence and rumor. And sententia is one of those things that can mean a bunch of stuff. And so if I were doing this, I'd say, that sounds kind of weird. I wonder what else it can mean. Oh, opinion or thought. Rumor and opinion fly. We know what that means, right? People giving their opinions and rumors. Da veniam puellae amabote. Pardon, please? Yes. Give pardon to the girl. Dative, right? Give pardon, or give the girl pardon. Amabote, please. Clementia tua multas vitas servat. I'm sorry, Luke, that you're just kind of on the... Do you mind answering them? Okay. Okay, do it then. Well, give it a shot. Guards many roads. Oh, you're so close. Your clemency. Do you know what clemency means? Mercy. Okay, does that help? Your mercy saves many vitas. So vias would be roads, but the word is vitas. What does vita mean? Your clemency saves many lives. That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? We like that better. Okay, good. Multum pecuniam deportat. Okay, that's fine. If you just don't know, you can say so. And if you're going to give a stab at it, that's fine too. Yeah. No, we're on 5. We're on 5. Yes. But look at the words. It can't be that because it says multum multam pecuniam deportat. So many has a direct object ending. What does many go with? Money. But we don't say many money. But what else can multus mean? Much money. And that has to be our direct object, doesn't it? So try it now. He carries away much money. Does that make sense? Okay. Et fortunam, et vitam, antiquae patriae, saepe laudas, sed recusas. This is a long one. Oh, it's a really long one. Do you need me to step in and help you, or do you want to? Okay. Well, first of all, I see two verbs: laudas, sed recusas. Let's just deal with those. What does laudas mean? Laudas. So what does the as and you praise? So if laudas means you praise, what does recusas mean? And it tells you recusare means refuse or reject.
You praise.
Mm-hmm.
You reject.
Yes. And do you remember what sed means? S-E-D, sed. It's on our new list. But you praise, but you reject. You praise, but you reject. Well, let's find out what they're praising but rejecting. Is there something that can be the direct object? Vitam, definitely. And what does that mean? We already met that once. What does vitam mean? Okay. You praise, but you reject life. Is there something else? Fortunam. And what does that mean? Fortune. Okay. So you praise, but you reject fortune and life. Do you remember what happens if we have two ets? Well, yes, it does. You praise, but you reject both the fortune and the life. And now we only have a few words left. What does saepe mean? You learned this one last year. Often. You often praise, but reject both the life and the fortune. Antiquae patriae. I'm going to write our endings down here just so we can see our options. Ancient fatherland. Now, is it the subject? Is it this one? Probably not, because the subject is you. So that this one's out. So we only have two more choices. Do you think the ancient fatherland is getting something? Is it getting fortune in life? No. So we could probably leave this one out. So what do we have left? Yes. So how would I translate ancient fatherland in the genitive? Of the ancient fatherland. You often praise, but you reject both the fortune and the life of the ancient fatherland. In other words, you say it was good in the good old days and you praise how they live, but you don't live like them. Apparently you don't think it was that good because you don't do the things they did. You don't work hard and have the same values, but you praise it. It's the same today. That That was good. Does that make sense how we worked through it? It was a long one. Okay, next one is shorter. It's from Seneca. Me vitare turbam ubes.
You order the crowd to avoid me.
Yes. Or you order me to avoid the crowd. Do we know which one? We don't know because we don't have any context. We don't know what the sentences before and after were. I'm guessing you're ordering me to avoid the crowd. But I can see a place where you would tell the whole crowd, stay away from him. He's bad news. Avoid him. We don't know. But what you said is both of our ways are possible, given the grammar. Okay. Me philosophiae do.
I give philosophy.
Well, that is not really going to work because philosophiae has one of these endings. And we know it's not this one again because the subject is I. It's got to be one of these. Let's So it's either of philosophy or to philosophy. And we have one more word, may. Yes. I give me. Luke, do we ever say, I give me? When I'm talking and I talk about me, what do I say instead of me? I bought, we say myself. I don't say I bought me a new skirt. Maybe some people do. I say I bought myself. I bought myself a new skirt. I give myself. Let's test drive it. I give myself of philosophy. I give myself to philosophy. Do we like one of those more than the other? We don't like either one of them. Can you kind of understand what would be meant by I give myself to philosophy? If I said that, what would I mean? Put it in your own words. What does that mean?
That's what I'm going to study.
So I'm going to be devoted to it. Yeah. I give myself to philosophy. It was tough. Okay. Philosophia est ars vitae.
Philosophy is the art of life.
Philosophy is the art of life. It's how to live. That's what philosophy teaches you. Sanam formam vitae conservate.
That one is off too.
Let's take a look at conservate. First of all, what does conservo mean? I think it was it was on your first list. It was one of the first week verbs. Preserve. And what do we think when it has ate on the end?
It's a command and you're commanding more than one person.
Yes. Preserve. We're telling someone preserve. What should they preserve? Is there a direct object? And they tell you that sanus means sound or sane. Formam. Preserve a form. What kind of form?
Of life.
Yes. And what do we do with sanam?
Preserve a sound of life.
Yeah, a sound form of life, a sane form of life. In other words, live a reasonable life. Don't be crazy out partying all the time and, I don't know, wrecking your knee and stuff like that. Don't live that sort of life. Sorry, I'm not teasing you in your pain, I promise. Okay. Emotica ira Creat insaniam. And yes, this is unfortunately has 3 out of the 4 words they're telling you what they mean behind. So I get your pain. I feel your pain. Emodica ira. Yes, creat.
Creates unsoundness and excessive anger.
Yes, except what is this? Look at the word ira. Ira can't be something being created because it doesn't have a direct object ending. It has a subject ending. Anger creates. What does it create?
Anger creates unsoundness.
Unsoundness or insanity. Anger creates insanity. You know, some of the Greeks said that insanity, anger is a brief madness. There's a saying. Because you know how you're not in your right mind. This is why people do terrible things sometimes when they're angry, right? But it's not just any anger, it's emodica ira. And what does it tell us that immodicus means? Immoderate, excessive anger creates insanity. You just blew your top so much that you, I don't know, punched a hole in the wall, broke your hand. I mean, people do this sort of thing. I don't do this. I did get so angry once. I did something and it made a mess, and then I had to clean up the mess. And I thought, this is the stupidest thing I ever did. I'm never doing that again. Yeah, immoderate anger. All right. Quid cogitas. Let's do this. Let's just do this in 2 parts. What does the quid cogitas mean?
What do you think?
What do you think? Debemus iram vitare. We ought to avoid anger, especially if it's punching holes in the wall or throwing things that make a mess. Nulla avaritia sine poena est. This is another hard one because they give you words.
No
Avarice. Luke, do you know what avarice means?
No.
Greed. Just use the word greed there.
No greed is without punishment.
No greed is without punishment. If you're greedy, it will come back to bite you. Me saivis catenis onerat. Right, this one, I'm going to grant you that this is a hard one because you don't know the words. So let's look at the verb, onerat. And it says onerare means load or oppress. So what would onerat mean? He loads. Who does he load? Is there something? Me. He loads me. And then we have saivis catenis. Let's not worry about what it's doing. Let's just find out what saivis catenis are.
Cyrus is cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Catena.
Catena is chain.
Okay, cruel, chain. And then do we think it's singular or plural? We can look at our endings here if we want. Plural, cruel chains. And it must be one of these, right? So do you think the cruel chains are getting something? No, it's like they're receiving the direct object. He loads me. In English, we have to put a preposition here. He loads me with cruel chains. He burdens me with cruel chains. That was a hard one. That was a hard one. I'll give you that. All right. Rotam fortunae non tement. Mm-hmm.
They do not fear the fortune wheel.
Yeah, except what can we say? Fortune doesn't have the same ending as wheel, right? They do not fear the wheel, and then fortune has one of these endings. Any guess which one we're going to swing to? Think of a popular game show, perhaps. They do not fear the wheel.
Genitive.
Uh-huh.
They do not fear the wheel of the fortune.
Of fortune. They do not fear the wheel of fortune. Wheel of fortune is a really old idea. Do you get the wheel? You know, sometimes you're at the top and sometimes you're at the bottom. That's the way life is. Life is like the wheel of fortune. The last book we're going to read, The Consolation of Philosophy, he talks about the wheel of fortune. They do not fear the wheel of fortune. Notice rota means wheel. You know, rotate. Either rotate or rotary. A rotary tool goes around, right? It comes rota. All right. We have, I'm going to move this up. We have some sentences to put into Latin. We'll use this to help us if we need to check it out. Right. Okay, I'm going to do it one word at a time, okay? The girls.
Cruella.
Did you write puella like this? Is that what you wrote?
I wrote with an E.
They puellae. Okay, that is what we want. Save.
Servant.
Servant. Beautiful because it's a they. Save life. Vitam. And it's the poet's life. How do we say poets? Poetae. That's perfect. That is perfect. I mean, you understand perfectly what's going on. Okay. Without philosophy. What's the word for without? It's okay. Did you do the sentence or?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, just, oh, it's probably the first word in your Latin sentence. I bet. Sine. And then philosophy. And is there anything special about the ending? Did you do anything special with the ending? You know what we're going to do with the ending, Luke? Put a little line over it because it takes the ablative. Without philosophy, we go astray. That's one word. Eramus. Yes, eramus. And we do it often. Saipe. We often go astray. And pay the penalty. Yes, except, yes. So poinos and the verb do always mean pay the penalty. Then that poinos dari means to pay the penalty. It's an infinitive. We pay the penalty. How can I make this verb be we? Damus. We pay. Does that make sense to you? That, I know it says poinos dari means pay the penalty, but they mean you make the dough be whatever person is the subject. We pay the penalty. Beautiful. All right. You see. We only got a couple more left. You see. You plural. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped 18. I'm sorry. If
C.
your land,
Patria.
and it's your land. Did we make it your?
Oh, that'd be genitive.
Well, actually, we learned that tuus is an adjective. So it matches whatever your goes with. I understand why you say genitive because it's possessive, but in this case, it's an adjective. So if patria is the noun, so it's tua, your country. If your country is strong, be strong. Oh, did you learn that? No, you know what we did learn? I'm going to go back to the very first chapter 1 verbs. And if you look back, walio means be strong, have power. They wanted you to use if your country is strong. Does that make sense? Nothing terrifies the sailors. Ooh, this is a long one. And you ought to praise yeah, except that laudas would be you praise, but we want to praise. Laudare. Your great fortune. Fortunam. And it's great. Do you remember what the word for great is? Big or great? Magnus. So, and we need it to match, right? Magnum. And it's your. And we already learned the word for your. Except it's got to match these, right? Tuam. That's it. That's it. That's the longest one. Oh my goodness, that was a long one. All right. You see. Now we're on the right one. 19. You see. We does. Now, that does mean you see. I'm going to leave it, but do you see in the let me just bring my book over there. Do you see in the parentheses, Luke? It has a PL. It means you plural. So they were going for videtis. Whenever you see a PL, they mean pick the plural one. Okay. You often see. Put it there. Mm-hmm. And what do you often see? Penalty. Poinam, right? Because that's what I see. Of my anger. Ere I, may I. Beautiful. And you warn me. Monesme. Or monetisme, if we were doing plural. Beautiful. Okay. Is this the last one? Yeah. Okay. And then we have Catullus and his love issues. The ancient gate. Antiqua. And how about gate? Porta is large. Magna. Good job. You made magna. Agree with the gate that is large. Okay. Whew. All right. Catullus. Here we go. Oh, Catullus. All right. Let's do it. It's embarrassing. It's horrible. Let's do it anyway. All right. Puella me non amat. My girl does not love me. Wale, Puella. Farewell, girl. Catullus obdurat. Catullus is firm. He's tough. Poeta puellam non amat.
The poet does not love the girl.
Puellam non vocat.
He does not call the girl.
Formam puellae non laudat. Puellae rosas non dat.
He does not give girls roses.
Yeah, he doesn't give roses to the girl. It's one particular girl in this case. He does not give roses to the girl. Et puellam non basiat. No, just the one girl, puellam. This is the one girl. He apparently will kiss others. Not this one. Ira mea es magna. Abduro mea puella. Yeah, I am firm, my girl. Sed sine te non valio.
But without you, I be not strong.
Yeah, or I am. That be strong. I am not. Without you, I am not strong. Without you, I am not well. He needs therapy. Okay, chapter 3. You already know it. Second declension. Us, e, o, e, orum, is, os, is. You got it. Now, one thing, they did talk about this in Latin Alive, but they didn't use it very much. When we're talking to someone directly, so if I say, if the girl's name is Maria, this is also how I write it in Latin when I talk to her in first declension. In first declension, it's the same as the nominative. Maria, close the door. Maria, cook dinner. Apparently, Maria is now my slave. I don't know. I'm bossing her around. In second declension, it's not quite the same. When we talk directly to someone, they put an E on the end. That's called the vocative. And so if we have someone named Marcus, and I say, Marcus, close the door, I would say, Marque. This is going to really stand out because there's no ending in this declension that's an E. And when you see one of these with an E, it's going to strike you as really strange. And you're going to say, what is going on with that E? Oh, they're talking directly to him. So if you look, why don't you guys look at, here's your new words. We'll go through it in a minute. But turn the page. Turn to the second page I gave you, to the sentences. And look at sentence. I can't find one. Oh, except for number 5. Can you see sentence 5 that says, si ira walet omi fili? There are a couple of words that don't use an E when you talk directly to them. And one of them is filius. Let me just a second. I'm looking for where it describes it in the book so that I can, okay. Nouns that end in I-U-S, like filius, have a single I in the vocative singular. And so does the word may. So mi fili is my son talking to you. My son, listen to my commands. All right. You're always going to know they're doing that because there's going to be commas around it. Okay. And that apparently is the place where they do that to you in these sentences. Let's take a look at the words, the new words you're going to learn on the first page. Agar, agree. You already know this. Field. But do you remember that sometimes we have nouns that don't end in us? But if you look at the nominative and the genitive, agar, agree, and then that gives you the stem. Agro, agrum, agro. Okay. Agar is that. Agricola means farmer. You already know this. You already also know that it's masculine. Amicus or amica, depending on whether your friend is boy or girl. Femina, woman, you know this. Filia, daughter, I'm pretty sure you know this. It tells you there's some weirdness going on with filia. Dative and ablative plural, filiabus. Weird, but I can kind of show you really quick why. If I took filia and declined it, filia, filii, filii, filium, filia, filii, filiarum, filiis, filias, filius. If it was like that, that's what I expect. But look at son. Filius, filii, filio, filium, filio, filii, filiorum, filiis, filias, filius. They'd be exactly the same. You wouldn't be able to tell son from daughter. So they make daughter filiabus here. So you can tell whether you're dealing with a son or a daughter. I think that's the only reason for it. And filius, son, is the next word. Numerous means number. Populus means people. Puer means boy. Sapientia, wisdom. That's a new one, I think. Vir means man. Avarus means greedy. Pauci, notice how it's always plural. All its endings are plural, and it means few. Why is it always plural? Because you can't have only one thing and call it a few. It doesn't work. Romanus means Roman. And then we have a couple of prepositions, but you already technically learned them. Day. Day means down from, concerning, or about. And it takes the ablative. We can remember the down from part because descend. If you descend, you come down. In, you've already learned, means in or on. Hodie means today. Semper means always. Then you have a verb you've already learned. Habeo habere, habiwi habitum, have or hold. And one you haven't learned. Satio, satiari, satiawi, satiatum, satisfy. All right. Let's see. Go ahead and do the sentences I gave you. There are 2 sets of sentences this time. May I steal this from you? There are exercitaciones, exercises, and sententiae antiquae, ancient sentences. And then a little paragraph called "The grass is always greener." Do as much of those as you are able. I'm going to bring chapter 4 next week. And if we get through it, we'll move on. And if we don't get through it, we'll, do some practice here in class together. I will just tell you, chapter 4 is sum est sunt, and second declension neuter. There's just absolutely no new material, except for some words, and most of the words aren't even new. So I think we're good. All right. Do you guys have any questions? Bear with me as we muddle through the rest of this year, and then we might just do a different method in a different book. We'll see how my summer class goes. All right, I will let you go and see some of you right away and some of you next week.